Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream Sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in as we wrap up another week on this Friday edition. Elon Musk has been the most visible member of President Donald Trump's administration during Trump's first 10 weeks back in the White House. A new poll showed that the familiarity can cause contempt, I guess you could say, as recent polling shows that the Doge point man is underwater with approval ratings. We have those latest polls for you. Judge James Boasberg is back in the news. This time he is poised to hold Trump administration officials in contempt of court. Are we headed to a constitutional crisis with this activist judge? A 21-year-old University of South Carolina student was killed in a hit-and-run crash involving an illegal immigrant, according to the Department of Homeland Security. We have the latest on this sad story out of the Palmetto State. And last week, we saw a group of South Carolina legislators hold a news conference to announce a new proposal to reduce income taxes in South Carolina. It all sounded good at the time, but since then, a legislative report shows that a lot of lower-income people may have to actually start paying taxes. This is not exactly the outcome expected. Matt Wills with the Greenville Chamber joins us to give us the latest.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
So here's what's going on with our favorite federal judge, James Boasberg. He is seriously considering whether to hold the Trump administration in contempt after it allegedly ignored a court order blocking deportations under the Alien Enemies Act, a law that dates back to the 1798. So we've talked about this for, 2 weeks now. And Judge James Boasberg appears to not be holding back. In another hearing yesterday, it's like this won't go away. He grilled a Justice Department attorney about why the government went ahead with deporting over 100 Venezuelan nationals, even after he told them to put the brakes on it. Some of the deportees were suspected members of the Tren de Aragua gang, this horrible gang of murderers, robbers, just bad guys who need to be out of our country. This judge, though, says he wants answers about the timing and the legality of those removals. Again, I get back to the frustration I have when these activist judges would rather have these criminals in our country, would rather to protect them than to protect citizens in our country. A little later in the show today, I'm going to tell you the story, a sad story, out of Columbia, South Carolina, where a young University of South Carolina student lost his life to an illegal, a person who should not have been in the country, and someone like this judge is protecting. According to Judge Boasberg, the government started landing or loading planes the morning of March 15th before the flights took off later that day, which is right around the time that he issued an emergency injunction. The judge was clearly skeptical, suggesting that the administration may have acted in bad faith by rushing to get people out before the legal order could take full effect. Well, so what? Is there something wrong with that? I mean, I don't know that that's the case, but if you suspect that this activist judge is about to try to stop you from doing something, aren't you going to go ahead and try to get it done? And is it illegal if you do it before the judge issues his order? Is his order even legal? I mean, again, the Trump administration at the time says that the flights were already over international waters. That's what Boasberg is trying to get at as he is grilling Trump administration officials on the timing of this. Boasberg asked a lot of pointed questions. Who knew about the order, when they knew it, who was on the calls, and why the government didn't share more information about the flights even in private, even with him if not publicly. The administration claims that some details were tied up in national security, but their own lawyer admitted the flight data probably wasn't classified. That didn't sit well with the judge, who said out loud, pretty sketchy. Look, Judge, your idea that these criminals should remain in our country, that's what's pretty sketchy. The judge also questioned why President Trump signed the deportation proclamation right before the flights and whether that timing was meant to give legal cover. Boasberg even wrote down the names of officials involved, double-checking their spellings and job titles himself, as if he's going to start investigating some of these. The big question now, and it is a big question, what next? Is the judge going to try to move forward with contempt proceedings, which would be a pretty major legal step? He's expected to make a decision, he says, sometime next week, and both sides are set to return to court Tuesday for more arguments on whether to block the policy more broadly. The Supreme Court needs to step in. This is the time for them to step in and stop this nonsense. You agree? This guy is bad enough that he issued the order. It's bad enough that we're having this debate and that we're on pause right now. We can't deport more of these criminals. We can't take them out of our country because of this judge. And now he wants to go after Trump administration officials, maybe hold them in contempt of court. Now, the president, for his part, as you know, has blasted Boasberg, calling him an activist judge. That's probably some of the nicer things that Trump has said about him, suggesting that he should be impeached. A Texas congressman has actually filed impeachment charges in the U.S. House of Representatives against this judge. Now, of course, there's a big debate about that, and I'm not so sure that impeachment is the proper course here. I think that Congress needs to take action. And by the way, that was one of the bills, a bill that would stop these rogue judges from doing this type thing, that was set to be voted on this week before Florida Representative Luna pulled her little stunt, and the House had to cancel all votes this week. They're expected to take that back up. But if the House can pass this and if the Senate can concur and pass it too, that's the proper way to handle judges like this. Let Congress spell out their boundaries very, very plainly so that a district judge like Mr. Boasberg can issue a nationwide injunction. I mean, there seems to be a lot of support for that. I mean, I don't know that I've talked to a single member of the U.S. Congress or the U.S. Senate, and I've talked to a few this week. I don't know that anybody is opposed to that. So let's get it done. But that leaves us now with Boasberg running the show, and he doesn't seem to be amused at all by what he sees as a possible contempt to dodge a federal court order. Who knows? I think he probably would like nothing better than to try to charge a Trump official with this. Meanwhile, you got people like a illegal with a lengthy rap sheet who has been deported from the U.S. for the 40th time during a recent Trump administration immigration raid in Texas. His name is Julian Estrada Garcia, 36 years old. He got booted from the country by Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers along with another 173 illegal immigrants in a 2-week operation last month in Houston. The frequent border crosser was once again kicked back to Mexico from Texas. While in the U.S., Estrada Garcia committed several crimes, including driving while intoxicated, Fortunately, he didn't kill anybody. Possession of illicit drugs and fraud. He was also convicted of illegal entry in the U.S. 4 times, and this guy keeps coming back. Estrada Garcia was just one of several illegal migrants swept up in the Houston raid who had been deported a shocking number of times. ICE also deported a 48-year Mexican citizen with 13 previous removals from the U.S. and 25 criminal convictions, and a 50-year Florencia 13 gang member with a lengthy rap sheet as well. These are bad people. We got to come up with a way, and the message needs to be sent that you come here, you're going to be sent back as many times as we have to send you back. And if you keep doing it, we're just going to lock you up somewhere and maybe send you over to Guantanamo Bay. Let you spend some time over there and think about your situation. You agree? Hi, Joey Hudson here. You know, this spring there's a renewed energy and focus on efficiencies, and shaking up unhealthy habits don't serve us well. There's so much chatter about making America great again, but it starts in your home with you being the best, healthiest version of yourself. And PhD Weight Loss is doing their part, because for the first time ever, the first 11 callers get 2 free weeks added to your weight loss program. That is huge. PhD's out to prove that you don't need Big Pharma to reach your goals. It just creates dependency, not long-term change. Dr. Ashley Lucas researched weight loss trends for years and discovered a scientifically proven way to retrain your body to burn fat efficiently without hunger, extreme exercise, or dangerous medications. PhD clients watch their belly fat disappear, their energy skyrocket, cholesterol and blood pressure normalize without starving themselves. I lost over 30 pounds and I've never felt better. So call now and mention promo code Joey for my 2 weeks for free with my program. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. It's been quite interesting and fun to watch Elon Musk these past couple of months or so, as his tenure as head of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, one of President Donald Trump's most visible and disruptive second-term initiatives. However, that high profile, being out there every day with the president, and just some of the programs that are drawing attention, is drawing increasingly sharp public backlash, even from some Republicans. This according to a number of national polls. With just weeks left before Musk's expected departure from his role in May, his approval is underwater. It surprised me when I started looking at some of these polling numbers, and his involvement in a controversial Wisconsin election this week that didn't turn out quite right has accelerated the political blowback as well. So let's take a look at some of the polls. And all these pollsters are very interested in Elon Musk now, because they're wanting to convince the mainstream media, they're wanting to convince you and me that Elon Musk is bad for America. So let's take Reuters Ipsos, for example. This poll took effect March 31st through April the 2nd, so most recent. 39% have a favorable rating of Elon Musk. 57% have an unfavorable rating of Musk. That is he has a bigger negative than Donald Trump has ever had. Only 31% say that the administration is completely downsizing government without harming essential services. And that's the problem here, is now that we've gotten into the nitty-gritty, just about everybody has been affected in some way or some form or fashion. Remember in the early days, we were seeing all these social media posts from the forestry service people who claimed that they had been let go as non-essential workers. One of the things that I've been hearing a lot here in the upstate of South Carolina, because of the wildfires that we've seen, everybody's questioning, well, did Forestry Service have enough personnel to fight this fire? There's sort of an undercurrent out there, is that, had Trump not fired all the forestry people, maybe these fires wouldn't have spread so quickly. I understand it had nothing to do with it, but this is the type of undercurrent that they're trying to feed. Marquette Law School, they did a poll March 17th through the 24th. DOGE job approval, 41% approve, 58% disapprove. Musk favorable, 38%. Unfavorable, 60% in the Marquette Law School poll. The Quinnipiac, this was done in early March. 54% say Musk, DOGE are hurting the country. And then the Fox News poll. This was mid-March as well. 40% approve of Musk's role at DOGE. 58% disapprove. 65% say not enough planning has gone into government cuts. So as we're starting to hear these stories of cuts and agencies going away and people losing their jobs, it's like we don't have the stomach to do what has to be done to decrease the size of government, to cut the government waste, to dig out or seek out the abuse. It's like we don't have the stomach to do it. We want it done. We elected Donald Trump to do it. But now that it's actually happening and people are losing their jobs, people are upset. And who are they blaming it on? Elon Musk, because he's the bearer of bad news. DOGE has slashed federal jobs. They've identified billions in what the White House calls wasteful spending. But we've seen these lawsuits that have cast a shadow of doubt over, is this the right thing? There's this backlash over the abrupt service disruptions of people going in to their jobs on Monday and being given a pink slip. They say that Elon Musk has been too aggressive. Critics warn that the changes are being rushed without proper oversight. What do you think? I'd love to hear from you on this. Email me, Joey at joeyhudson.com. Leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com, and you'll save you get the best savings on any product, whether it's towels, pillows, my slippers, the bed sheets, the Giza Dream sheets. Use promo code Joey to get the best price. Musk is $20 million push to help elect a Trump-aligned judge in Wisconsin this week. He spent $20 million of his own money, and some of the Trump supporters, some of the operatives, are privately blaming, this according to a couple of different reports that I've read, they're blaming Musk for turning that into this judicial race into literally a referendum on Trump and DOGE, and it didn't turn out too good. Now, Trump just kind of pushed it to the side, but a lot of people were thinking, okay, Donald Trump, everything he touches right now wins. And now that the liberal won that Supreme Court race in Wisconsin, even after Elon Musk spent $20 million, and Susan Crawford won by 10 points, wasn't even close. They're saying, well, maybe Trump, and the left's feeding this, maybe Trump's not as popular as he thinks he is. Here's the reality, and there's starting to be some Republican unease here, because we're staring 2026 in the face now. The midterms, we have to buck up against the historical numbers here, and we have to win. Historically, whoever's in the White House loses the midterms. We can't afford to do that this year. We have to maintain what we have, and we need to grow our margins in both the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate. So that's our challenge. We got to figure out how to do that. I mean, President Trump remains vocally supportive of Elon Musk. I don't think there's any doubt there. But it's just some Republicans, and of course all the Democrats, are concerned that Musk is increasingly toxic public image, and that's how they view him, is going to hurt the Trump administration's broader agenda, especially as the Democrats are ramping up their attacks. We'll see. Hey, let me take a minute to talk about something great, something positive. The bakery in Ingalls, the best food, household items at best prices at my favorite market, and that's Ingalls. Have you been to the Ingalls Bakery lately? They have store-made cakes and cookies, donuts, muffins, and, of course, their world-famous apple fritters. They make them fresh every day. A great selection of organic breads and magnificent artesian breads in old-world varieties like the rosemary garlic or the Tuscan, and they'll slice it while you watch, that hot bread being sliced right then. Select stores even offer a great gluten-free selection of bakery items as well. And, boy, their mouth-watering seasonal fruit pies. Now's the time for those apple pies, and we'll be having some peach cobblers and that type of thing coming in. So, look, if you're having a special occasion, run by Ingalls. Ask them about some of their custom-made cakes for your birthday, for those anniversaries. They'll make it for you. They'll put your picture on it if you want. Ingalls, low prices, love the savings. On our guest line today, Matt Wills. He's Vice President of Government Affairs for the Greenville Chamber. Matt's responsible for monitoring what is happening at all levels of government with a particular focus on the political issues facing business owners. It's a pleasure to have you back, Matt. Welcome.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, so for once, let's lead with something other than tort reform. We've talked
anything but tort reform.
Yeah, we've talked tort reform for months probably here. All right, so last week we touched on the House and the Senate GOP leaders announcing what was billed as a tax reduction, taking the state tax rate from 6.2 down to 3.99 next year, with potential to be lowered even further to 2.49. However, and that's a big however, groups have come out of the woodwork this week. There was a fiscal impact report released earlier in the week, and it appears maybe this is not a tax reduction for everyone. There are groups now saying that this is potentially a tax increase for some. Can you help us out here? Maybe bring us some clarity.
Sure. So I think there, from the get-go in this particular discussion, there was this perspective that, hey, we're going to lower taxes for everybody. But in doing that, without creating any offsets or creating any other taxes to replace that, what do you have to do? You've got to broaden the tax base. And that brings in folks that have never paid taxes before or traditionally haven't paid taxes based on what they've made. And that's exactly what the House bill is proposed to do. It is taking our effective tax rate from 6.2% down to 3.99% initially, which creates a lowering for some, for the folks that are continuing, that have paid taxes in the past. But yes, it does effectively increase taxes for folks that haven't paid taxes before. And then there are triggers within this bill based on revenue numbers that the state gets to that would take that rate down to a flat 2.49%. There has been some discussion this week after some news reports and the fiscal impact statement came out that said, look, maybe we should start at the lower number and just keep it there. That lowers taxes for everyone for the most part, except for the folks that haven't paid them before. But yeah, this issue got a little muddy, and it got muddy pretty quickly.
Well, I had some people on, as I mentioned, you and I talked about it briefly last week. I've had some people on the show in earlier part of the week talking about, this is something we've been working towards. This is going to be great. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly it was like overnight. You started seeing these posts on social media and various places, and I started getting emails and text messages, and you could tell that it was coming from a coordinated effort because it was the same talking points. But I mean, sure, they're valid questions. For example, the South Carolina Freedom Caucus, in some of their social media posts, they say that a family making $63,000 will pay $738 more in taxes each year. They also cite the case of a single mom making the median income will pay $716 more per year. They talk about that this bill will increase taxes for 66% of the state. That's kind of hard to swallow if you thought you were going to a tax decrease.
Sure, and again, this is one of those policy decisions that I think that electeds have to make at some point in time, and saying, all right, do we go ahead and bite the bullet early and maybe have a little bit of heartburn to begin with, and then it starts to level out, starting to flatten itself out to where it normalizes. As we get to the lower percentage numbers that bring us, below our neighboring states, and make us a little bit more competitive for workforce folks in South Carolina. But yes, there is this consternation currently about, hey, what is this actually doing right now? Because we didn't do this before, and now we're paying this. It's a little bit different way to think about things, and it's a different way to kind of account for things that the state has done before. But I think eventually, when we get down to that 2.49 number, or get that down to that 2.5% number, things will start to shake themselves out. There is some talk currently about, when the House moves this particular bill, which is in Ways and Means this week, will probably be reported out to the floor. They'll probably look at some of these things. but there is a lot of discussion currently of the Senate looking at it with a little bit more detail and saying, hey, maybe we can get this less painful early and just make it what it is that we wanted to get to with the triggers to get us down to that 2.5 number, and maybe even lower than that.
Yeah.
To make some triggers get in place to get us down to a 0%. But we can't. Going from where we are, getting and lowering it is going to be a process. It was always going to be a process, and there was going to be some heartburn across the board somewhere along the line. But I think it's a positive step in a very good direction. I think certainly these the heads are in the right spot. Maybe we can work on the process of this a little bit to make it a little bit less, contentious and a little less painful to begin with. But I think we're moving in the right direction.
Yep. Matt Will's with me today. Matt, last Thursday, I moderated a legislative town hall type forum. And we talked about this. There were a number of legislators in the room, and everyone was excited about this. I don't know that anyone, and obviously I can't speak for them, but this never came up. I mean, everything we talked about was how this was going to reduce tax rates. I think if we had told the crowd of people that night that, hey, 66% of people in the state, which means probably a number of you in this audience tonight, your taxes are going to go up, they would not have been as enthusiastic. So my question to you is, did legislators know the ramifications of this, or is this just something once we got this report, they realized, oh, wait a minute, maybe this is not going to work the way I thought it was?
Well, this is one of those times where, when folks talk about the sausage making of lawmaking, this is kind of where the proof's in the pudding. And, you can look at a good idea and say, all right, well, this is how we're going to get there. But then when the numbers folks look at it and say, well, this is what it's going to cost. This is what it's going to quote unquote cost us in the short term to get to a point where we normalize and we get to a point where we're at a flat point and everybody's paying 100% of folks that are making money in the state at, up to a certain number are paying this number. That there is change, and with change comes change.
Yep.
And I think that whether they knew it or not specifically, I think is kind of a moot point.
True.
And I say that just from the standpoint of we've got to do something to get our state in line with our neighbors. We have folks come into the state and staying in the state, but we continue to hear time and time again, we're higher than everybody else, and we're not necessarily getting the benefit of being higher than everybody else. So what are we there for?
Yeah.
And I think that when this fiscal impact statement hit, I believe it was on Sunday, I think, and all the news reports started hitting on Monday before we came back into session on Tuesday. I think that obviously there was some scrambling going on to figure out exactly if that's accurate or not. But I think, one thing is true to all of this. I think their heads are in the absolute right spot. This could be a very bipartisan issue if it's done correctly. I think there's some members of the Democratic caucus, especially in the House, that are looking at this and saying, wow, this is a good idea for the state. But again, proof's in the pudding in this. And I think that no piece of legislation is ever perfect, but it can be perfected through the process.
Yep.
And I think that's what we're going through.
Well, I guess we need to do a little fine tuning here, and that's part of the process. I get that. So, Matt Wills with the Greenville Chamber, always a pleasure. Appreciate your time today, and we'll check in with you again next week.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.
On our text line, Susan from Hartwell says, Anna Paulina Luna Pelosi. Oh, I see your play on words there, Susan. Luna Pelosi needs to get it through her head that proxy voting is unconstitutional. A lot of you responded to that. Scott in Toccoa says, on the vote by proxy law, I have a question. Is it necessary? Are there hordes of 9-month pregnant representatives waiting to vote in the U.S. Congress? To me, it seems like this is a non-issue designed to grab headlines or be a distraction from more important issue. Thanks, Joe. It is a distraction, and it is a good question. Are there how many members of Congress, how many females do we have serving who are pregnant who could potentially be in this situation? Which I think is a good example of why you can't change rules like this to serve just a few. Proxy voting, I agree with the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. I think it's unconstitutional. Love to hear what you think. Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com.
Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. From the text line, texter says, Joey, I turned 55 today and I feel like 75. Realize life is short. Praise God I've lived this long. Single parent of a 9-year-old beautiful daughter, Roger. Well, thank you, Roger. Appreciate that. Texter, China gave Fauci kickback. Teach history, not just Common Core. In the 80s, they changed the history books. Now, no true history is taught. I would have to agree with that. Texter, good morning, Joey. I think it's a good idea to dismantle the Department of Education as long as Congress does it, because if it only takes a president to dismantle it, then that'll set a bad precedent for the future if a Democrat president becomes able to do it as well. I guess you make a point there that, you have presidents dismantling things. The next Democrat that comes along could do the same thing to a program that maybe Trump sets up. Good point. Appreciate your text. Faye on the MyPillow message line has this to say.
Good morning, Joey. I come this morning concerned about the things taking place in our wonderful state of South Carolina. Sounds like this tax decrease is actually going to be a increase, not a decrease. Concerned about the problems with Planned Parenthood and all the details there. And last but not least, am concerned about the fact that South Carolina may have its own version of Dr. Fauci. And none of these things sound good. Joey, when you have an opportunity, I hope you will have time to give us your thoughts about these. Thanks, Joey. Continue your good work.
Well, thank you, Faye. Appreciate the message on the MyPillow message line. Remember, always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com and place your order to get the very best price. Faye, just to answer one of your questions there, Dr. Simmer was voted down in the Senate subcommittee, so he will not be advancing. Governor Henry McMaster's choice to lead the Department of Public Health will not be moving forward, so you don't have that one to worry about. A sad story as we wrap up this week. We talk a lot about illegals who are in our country, and President Donald Trump and his administration trying their best to start deporting these people who are here who shouldn't be, the worst of the worst. Unfortunately, one of those was in Columbia, South Carolina this week when he killed a junior at the University of South Carolina in a hit and run near campus involving an illegal from El Salvador. This according to the Department of Homeland Security officials. In a post on X, Tricia McLaughlin, DHS Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs, said that the driver was in our country illegally, noting that 21-year-old Nathaniel Nate Baker should be alive today. Baker was the junior at the University of South Carolina. She wrote, DHS Gov prays for Nate's family, friends, and loved ones and will work every day to protect innocent Americans like Nate. The culprit, Rosali Fernandez Cruz, 24, is charged with hit and run resulting in death, failure to give information and render aid, failure to yield the right-of-way, and driving without a license, according to a statement from the Columbia Police Department. At the time of the crash, Fernandez Cruz was wanted by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, according to the police. A DHS source told Fox News that Fernandez Cruz was arrested by Border Patrol in Hidalgo, Texas on December 24th, 2016. Nearly 2 years later, on September 6, 2018, an immigration judge in Charlotte, North Carolina, ordered Fernandez Cruz to be sent back to El Salvador. Just after 2 p.m. this week on Wednesday, Fernandez Cruz allegedly failed to yield the right-of-way while turning left at Blossom and Assembly Street in Columbia, our state's capital, hitting young Baker, who was on a motorcycle, hit him with his truck and drove off. Baker was taken to a hospital, pronounced dead, according to the Richland County Coroner's Office. Fernandez Cruz is accused of not stopping or rendering aid to Baker or reporting the incident to police. He reportedly drove away from the accident site and ran from the vehicle. So he hits this young man, and he doesn't even stop to see if he's okay. He keeps moving. And then when he's approached, he runs. Fortunately, there was a Columbia Police Department officer nearby. He found and detained Fernandez Cruz. There were 2 other men with Fernandez Cruz at the time of the accident who also ran. According to police officials, no charges are pending against them presently. The immigration status of the other men is unknown as well. The university confirmed in a statement that Baker was a business major from Glen Allen, Virginia. In a statement, they said, "Our prayers and deepest sympathies go out to Nate's family and friends during this difficult time. Counseling staff are actively working with those impacted, and services are available to any member of our campus community affected by the tragedy." There's been an outpouring of grief, of support for this young man's family. Pi Beta Delta confirmed in an Instagram post that Mr. Baker was a member of its fraternity. They wrote in the post yesterday, "We lost not just a brother, but a leader, a role model, and a true embodiment of what our fraternity stands for. Nate Baker brought light, laughter, and love into all of our lives. Nate will always be remembered for the way he showed up for others and the impact he had on everyone around him." This young man should not have lost his life. And if our country, if our government had been doing its job, this guy would have been sent back years ago. He should not have been here. And this is why I get so frustrated when I hear cases like this rogue federal judge, James Boasberg, who feels like he has to protect people here illegally. Does this make you as frustrated and as angry as it does me to know that this young guy who had his whole life ahead of him, and it is just snuffed out that quickly by an illegal? That's why we have to support Donald Trump and his efforts to find these people, find the worst of the worst. And as I said, according to the reports, this guy was wanted. ICE had been looking for him. And send them back home. The University of South Carolina College Panhellenic Association called the situation a tragedy in a statement on Instagram, saying, "Our thoughts, prayers, and hearts are with Nate's family, friends, loved ones, and our entire Greek community during this time. Nate's impact will continue to live on throughout the USC community and will never be forgotten." And I hope not. I hope not. I just pray for this young man's family, that they have to endure this horrible grief, this tragedy of losing their loved one to someone who should not have been in our country. It's just that simple. Pray for him. Pray for this family. Pray for the University of South Carolina community as well. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.